repetitive work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. That's right. Let's do some housekeeping. You can join the conversation over the next hour. In fact, well, you can join us anytime. It doesn't change for me. It's the same number for the station. You can dial 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. You'll only be able to reach me during the 1 to 2 o'clock block here. And you can, of course, text us because we have the text line running, and that's 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. You can text that like you do anybody else. It does appear on a screen here in the studio in real time. We'll try to work it into the conversation. And remember, it's a text, not a book. Don't forget the station is streaming to the TuneIn app 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like thousands of other radio stations do. But what I like about that feature, folks, it means you can take us anywhere, in or out of the car. It doesn't matter if it's on your device. You can take us anywhere. I like the fact it just jumps on and off the Bluetooth in the vehicle as you get in and out, so you can take it anywhere. And, of course, we're streaming on WCRNradio.com as well. But this show is turned into a podcast, so you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That would be, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever it is. You can do that. We are streaming. I always stream from the WCRN studios today. I atop the Carberry Towers in Westborough, Massachusetts. So that means you can go to the station's Facebook page, YouTube channel. You can stream it there, or my social media, which is Joe Mangi Show. So that can be Twitch TV and LinkedIn profile, as well as X, Facebook, and yes, we stream live to Rumble. So a lot of ways to listen, a lot of ways to watch, and of course participate in the show. In the news, they were talking about this at the top of the hour. We're just coming out of this, and Ted, I don't know if you're following this. The University of Alabama student, that James Gracie, 20 years old, he's in Barcelona, gone missing, just disappeared. Now they somehow got hold of his phone because they arrested a guy in Barcelona. It's not clear. I'm trying to find in stories and so forth. Is he part of the investigation into James Gracie? Or did they arrest him on a different, just unrelated, and found the kid's phone? Or were they tracking the phone, led it to this guy, which they arrested for unrelated? But that's interesting. But they are now concerned about the waterways. So they've launched, water rescue, search and rescue in there. 20 years old. He's a big kid, like 6-something, very well fit. You don't think, I think a lot that you got to worry about, telling college kids, a 20-year-old guy that's like 6'3", 200 pounds, ready for football, to be careful. I know we concentrate on our daughters and our wives and our girlfriends and nieces and give them all the advice. Don't leave your drink alone. Don't go to the bars alone. Certainly don't leave a bar alone. Have the buddy system. Have your girlfriends look out for you. Use the bouncers and security, all of that. And we don't think that we need to talk to maybe the guys the same way. And I think we do, because once you get out of the United States, right, you have to remember you're not in the bosom of Lady Liberty here anymore, and things are different in other countries. Although, one could argue we're looking like other countries in a lot of our major blue cities, but let's put a pin in that. The point is, you're not in America. There are whether sophisticated or simple crime rings, they look for Americans. Pickpocketing is huge. Barcelona happens to be a very big pickpocket place, which is why they sell the tons of these anti-pickpocket bags and undershirt stuff and all that. But the pickpockets know there's the slash, right? They actually have blades with them, so they can slash the knapsack that you're walking with it behind. You don't see anything going on, and they target especially young Americans like this with maybe a few drinks in them and things of that nature. And when they break away from the flock, right, they look for that lone duckling over there that's on their own. So let's see what happens. The fraternity apparently has got real involved in this, and they've been in contact. The father's over there, the mother's still here. His fraternity brothers are very much concerned with whether he's, him getting returned. The fraternity itself, I guess, has reached out to both our State Department and the officials there. So the fraternity this kid's in at the University of Alabama has gotten involved, and they're playing a role here. So there's this here. I hope some prayers for him and his return. In contrast, now I'm watching this, and it seems like Nancy Guthrie has kind of fallen off the headlines, and we're in our 7th week, I think, since she's been abducted in an upscale neighborhood in Tucson, Arizona. And now I was reading some stuff about there seems to be I don't know, the articles are referring to the sheriff as the bumbling sheriff, and some efforts within Tucson or that county to remove the sheriff or get rid of the sheriff. I guess a lot of people feel he didn't quite handle this well. And I'm thinking back to covering this when it was a fresh story and reading about, weeks out, that people were still readily accessing the crime scene. They were allowing the pool company to come clean. Amazon and pizza deliveries were being made. And one woman walked straight up with her dog onto the property. Then they went back and taped it off. I mean, it does seem, again, armchair quarterback here, and from a distance, it doesn't seem like that scene was secured in the way it should have been secured. And you don't release a crime scene till you're pretty sure that you've exhausted everything you need to extract from the scene. Then we had that issue with the FBI lab versus a lab in Florida, that the sheriff decided to send stuff to the lab that the sheriff's department used. Now, I got to tell you, there are fantastic private labs out there for this kind of thing. There really are. Private industry has some wonderful stuff. But I'd still stack any private lab against the Quantico, against the FBI forensic units and labs. Plus, with this being a kidnapping and so forth, the FBI was coming in. You knew that 2 seconds after you realized what happened. If you didn't, maybe you shouldn't be that sheriff. But the point is, keep it in one lab. The turnaround rate, the miscommunication, that seems sloppy. And if you did send stuff to the lab in Florida, get it up to the Quantico lab and centralize all that. But she's still missing. And I haven't seen anything really updates as far as, anything happening on this. I think Fox did put an article out a few days ago on the 16th. But sometimes they deal more with Savannah because she's the real celebrity. The mother's a second-tier celebrity and only a celebrity in any extent because of Savannah's position. But they seem to be, all the media seems to be more concentrated on Savannah skipped the NBC Olympics coverage to spend time with her family. Well, I would hope so. But it's just funny that's fallen off. Why? It was such a big thing, and other things have pushed it off. But anyway, we have this going on. I hope this kid, Gracie, the Alabama, University of Alabama kid, James Gracie, 20 years old, hopefully he's found alive and well and is returned to his frat brothers and eventually back to the University of Alabama. So prayers for James, as well as Nancy, for that matter. I think we've all been watching that and wondering what's going on with that. Again, I think it was pretty interesting that Google and the companies with the Nest, I think was it Nest or was it Ring? It was Nest, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Nest doorbell, were able to extract some of the video footage, even though their subscription wasn't active. They weren't currently paying, but the camera's working, and that stuff is still there. I just go back to, I've said this so many times, and I'm coming from the security point of view here, and certainly on the investigations, because I've had investigations, not that I'm doing it, guys, but I have people that do that kind of work, incredible computer people, and nothing is truly deleted. Get that straight. Anything that's been recorded is usually recoverable with enough effort. This also goes for posting anything. These apps that you put on your phone, please, if you go and put an app on, do it through the Google Play, do it through the iPhone store. I'm not a big iPhone person. I don't have any Apple products at all. But do it through the store. When you start putting these apps on that aren't coming through there, you're basically saying, please install spyware as much as you can on my phone. And maybe you should have protection on the phone too. Anyway, that's Security Minute here for today. All right, there's a few things to talk about. One of the things I do want to talk about, I don't know if you saw any of that. I was kind of running around yesterday, but I do usually have Sling on the phone in the car, so I do watch it while I'm driving. I don't know if I'm supposed to admit that, but it's on. I listen to it anyway. The testimony, the questions with Mullins here, the senator that is up for secretary, replace Christie Noem. And Rand Paul seems to have a real problem with this guy because they've had some back and forth in the past. Now, this is a guy, he was an MMA fighter. And he comes off as a tough guy, but I think a real tough guy. I mean, there are guys who want to pretend they're tough, and they try to come off as tough. Yeah, but you usually see through that right away because tough guys don't have to tell you they're tough. You know if they're tough or not. I look at this guy and I think that's a tough guy. He doesn't have to say anything about it. But we got to take the first break. But when we get back, let me get into this a little bit. And of course, Save America Act is still on the forefront of my mind anyway. And hopefully it is on your mind as well. But we're going to take a quick break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Text 617-297-8388. And I'm streaming. So jump on. There's a few streamers on there. Go join them. Back on the other side. 2 minutes, 15 seconds. We'll be back.
Paul Harvey captivated us with his unique blend of wit, curiosity, and that unforgettable sign-off. WCRN Radio is proud to reintroduce Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Weekday mornings at 9, only on WCRN.
WooSox 26 is here, and tickets for opening day and April and May are on sale now. The WooSox are ready to launch their 5th anniversary season on Friday, March 27th, and rocket to new heights. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888. Get your tickets today.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
Bad decisions limit future options. Stop adversity from becoming stress. Listen to The Float Line with host Rick Hughes, Sundays at 9 a.m. on AM 830 WCRN for inspiration, education, all without manipulation. The Float Line, Sundays at 9 a.m. All right, folks. Welcome back here. Second segment, Thursday afternoon. The Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Hey, reminding you on Fridays, I am not here the only day during the week because the Car Brothers are there with their Car Brothers Adventure, I think they're calling it. But the Car Brothers Show, Mike and Mark Hare, they're on Fridays at 1 o'clock. Good show. Love listening to it. And they'll tackle any questions you have about buying a car, selling a car, but also the service stuff that goes with that. 508-871-7000. And Ted, yeah, there was I'm trying to see if I can find it. You can probably find the video because you had Mullen on a Senate hearing, and there was some guy who had tweeted something about, kind of challenging this former MMA fighter. And he's saying, hey, anytime, any place. And there's the senator. And he's saying, now's a time, now's a place, and let's go, that kind of thing. And Mullen stands up, and you hear Bernie Sanders in the background, gentlemen, sit down. This is a Senate. This is the United States Senate. And I don't know. I happened to be watching that, and I thought, well, geez, could you let this play out for a couple of seconds? Because back in the day, we used to have duels on the White House lawn. I mean, and there was a case. We had one member of Congress beaten to within an inch of his life with a cane. It had to do with slavery, and
on the floor of the House.
On the House floor, because he goes, I read your take on this or whatever it was a couple times, and I decided to hogwash. And he starts beating the man with the cane, and he was hospitalized. Now, granted, medical treatment wasn't the same, but still beaten to the point that he had to convalesce for weeks and weeks before he could and when he returned to the House, I think it was with assistance in their version of a wheelchair in those days. But anyway, 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Hey, Mark, what say you?
I was watching a video clip, digital video clip of this exchange that went on yesterday between Mr. Mullins and Rand Paul. Just a side note, quick on Rand Paul. I always suspected that this guy was a little bit off the rails.
Which one, Mullen or Rand Paul?
Rand.
Okay.
Yeah, Randy. Was a little bit off the rails, a little bit. But now, after seeing this performance of his yesterday as the United States Senator, as the chair of this investigative committee, I'm convinced of it, that he's more than just a little off the rails. You could take from that in the audience whatever they wish.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Mullins, Rand Paul went out to him, and he's saying, I had sex from the ribs, and I was, and it caused me to have a piece of my lung removed, and you know what Mr. Mullins should have said? Dude, I'm not the guy that did that to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who did it to him? His next door neighbor.
Exactly.
That's who did it to Rand, who is, by the way, also an MD physician, like Rand is. I wonder what he did or said to get this physician to almost beat him to death. That's what I would have said to Mr. Randy.
It could have been as simple as he didn't trim the bushes or the hedges on the property line. I don't know. Thank you, Mark.
I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. But here's the thing. This guy Mullen, the Senator Mullen, I should say, this guy Mullen, my understanding, and maybe you know better, I don't know. I can't read every article there is out there, folks, but my understanding is that Mullen said something in a private conversation. He didn't tweet it. It wasn't in an interview or anything. It was a private conversation. When he heard the news about that, he said something like, I get that. I understand that. Meaning that Rand Paul can be such a scutch. Well, there's a word from my mom's vocabulary. Such a scutch, right? Could be such a pain in the butt. I get that. Somebody would want to, smack him. And then that got, made public and shared, which, by the way, And thank you, Mark, for the call. Always appreciate it. When are we going to learn that there's a difference between private conversations that you have and Sean O'Brien is the neighbor? No, Sean O'Brien is the guy he had that fight with. Got it.
Yeah, president of the Teamsters.
That's what it was. And you think, oh, Teamsters. No, if you took a look at this guy, he's good 40 pounds overweight. He looks like a potato.
Yeah, you said it. Potato head.
Potato head. He was a potato head. And Sean O'Brien is his name, I guess, the Teamsters. He's the one telling former MMA fighter, Senator Mullins there, Markway Mullins, anytime, any place. But the point is, when are you going to, when you're talking privately, that's not supposed to be. If you start sharing those private conversations publicly or repeating them on interviews or putting them in tweets, you're the idiot there, guys. You're the, you know what I'm saying? If that person wanted it public, they would tweet it themselves, whether it's saying on an interview. And if you're not the type of person that can't handle that, maybe you tell the person, you know, you don't want, because I have friends who say that, you don't want to tell me any secrets. I can't keep them. I can't wait to regurgitate this. So don't tell me this. And you learn who those are in your sphere rather quickly. But, you know, this, we got to talk so a little bit about that hearing, but also the Save America Act. My friends here, it ought to be the Save America Act. This is the least controversial ideas in American life. Did you want to?
Well, I just want to explain Rand Paul in a more clear.
He's not his father. That's right.
You know, he grew up in the shadow of his father. He took over his father's business and then his political business, and consequently, he's got an inferiority complex, and he needs to put himself out as different than everybody else every time. And look, he was the only Republican who didn't vote for the Save Act.
And to Mark's point, he was using that particular situation yesterday to get revenge of some type in his head. He was angry at Mullins. He wanted to, and I'm sorry, but this was a very clear demonstration of abuse of power and situational power. Yes, it may be, but this isn't, you know, to Rand Paul, this isn't the time and place that you get your revenge, that you know, especially when you're dealing with something like this. The secretary of DHS with, you know, how many thousands of people are under that secretary, how many agencies, the budget, and the importance that, well, we have this Middle East conflict going on. We've still got the other conflict with Russia and Ukraine.
Incredible.
And we've got God knows how many either homegrown terrorists or wannabes, plus those that have infiltrated because of wide open borders for 4 years. And that's one of the biggest concerns that we have, because we actively know that the people on watch lists were let in and then released, and we don't know where the hell they are. So we're not done, right? We saw several things last week, right? Whether it was the Mandami at Gracie Mansion, with those two jamokes, the guy who drove into the synagogue. We look, there's going to be more of this. Statistically and common sense tells us there's going to be more of this. And we have 30 days out now of not funding these agencies. We've got to replace this secretary. And thank goodness, John Fetterman. But I'll get into this because the Save America Act should be the least controversial idea in American lifestyle. It just is. And yet in Washington, somehow, it becomes a five-alarm political crisis. Only American citizens should be able to register to vote in American elections. That is not controversial. Over 80% of Americans say this is not controversial. And it's so aggravating that time after time, we elect, because we're not a democracy, we're an elected republic here, and we elect people to do our bidding for us, whether in Beacon Hill or Capitol Hill, and we make it known what we would like, and they seem to just ignore it most of the time. and do whatever they want to do. And then you have to ask, well, what is the decision process that they're having? What are the powers that influence them to do this? Look at with the license to illegals in Massachusetts. We said no. They did it anyway. We voted on the, audit of the state legislature. And they have said, no, you can't look at that. We don't want that. We can have an accounting, but not an audit. So stop me when you get to this radical part of the Save America Act, rather, because that is the heart of Save America Act, that American citizens actually get to register and then get to vote. It says if you want to register to vote in the first place in a federal election, you must prove that you're an American citizen. And that can be done, passport, a birth certificate, and naturalization papers. Doesn't matter, whatever or however you are. I mean, I can think of about 3 times in the last year that I've needed to produce my birth certificate for various things. If you don't have your birth certificate in that fireproof box that we all have somewhere in the house, with those papers that you don't want burnt in the case of a fire or stolen or whatever, then get a hold of the town clerk or city clerk wherever you were born, and for a few bucks, they'll send you a certified copy. It's not a hard thing to do, and anyone can do that. And if you're voting in person, it says you got to show a voter ID. That's it. That's the mountain Democrats are choosing to die on. This act, and John Fetterman crossed over. And the public, by the way, is overwhelmingly with common sense on this issue. Polling this month shows voter ID is supported by 8 in 10 voters. That's 80%. And proof of citizenship requirements also draw majority support. All right, folks, we got to take the mid-show break here. I'm going to continue with this when we come back, and a little bit about that hearing that we had to go through yesterday. And I hope at this point, Mullins is confirmed. It looks like it's gonna move forward. Well, it is moving forward for the general vote and all that. But anyway, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Join the conversation or text 617-297-8388. And don't forget, we are streaming on multiple platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show. Back in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, folks. Stick with us.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Partly to mostly cloudy, highs in the 40s today. We'll dip it down into the 30s tonight with quiet, dry weather. Now tomorrow, 50s return for the first day of spring. The spring equinox is at 10:46 tomorrow morning, and it does feel a little more spring-like. We've also got some showers that we're going to be watching for your Friday evening and your Friday night plans. I'm Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Information central to your day from Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Boston, are you ready for a show that's unique and different? Blind and Beyond Radio Show is the only commercial radio show in the world for the visually impaired and the blind community. We are the bridge between the blind community and the sighted community. This show is sponsored by Carroll Center for the Blind in Newton, Mass. Fun, informative, educational, with trivia prizes every Sunday night. Blind and Beyond Radio Show every Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. on WCRN, 830 a.m.
The best Italian cuisine served by some of the nicest folks you'll ever meet is at Ziti's Italian Trattoria. It's fine Italian cooking at the Speedway Shopping Center, 290 Turnpike Road in Westboro. It's like sitting down with your family for an authentic home-cooked Italian meal. From intimate dinners to catering for events of all sizes. From pizzas and calzones to classic Italian dinners. Every meal at Ziti's is one you'll remember. Head on down to Ziti's, 290 Turnpike Road in Westboro.
All right, folks, welcome back. Second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830, WCRN Radio Central. Reminding you, you can join the conversation for the time we have left together at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Ted, did you see Dolly Parton is reportedly set to marry again at 80 years old? After over a year more, I think her husband, it was Dean or something, Carl Thomas Dean, that was his name. He passed away on March 3rd last year. And so now she's considering marriage again at 80 years old. She is still on my bucket list. All right, I got to meet Reba McEntire. Dolly Parton was up there. She used to be that person that I wish I met her before she passed. Now I hope I meet her before I pass. She's been around for so long.
Joe, I just got to quote her. What a way to make a living.
What a way to make a living. Working 9 to 5. Yeah, great movie. I must watch that again over the weekend. But anyway, yeah, Dolly Parton, marry again. And I have no idea. I didn't get in the article of who she's considering, but that's interesting. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So just to let it know on this, where that bill stands, the Save America, it already passed the House. Now, in the Senate, Republicans got the first procedural vote to open the debate, 51-48. But because of the filibuster, they still don't have the 60 votes to force it across the finish line. So Mike Lee and others are doing now is simple. They're going to keep the pressure on, keep the debate going, make Democrats go on the record against a bill that says citizens vote and non-citizens don't. That is not a bad politics for Republicans. Frankly, it's exactly what Democrats do not want to be. And that's already caused some movement. But here's the thing in the filibuster, because there's the filibuster and the talking filibuster. Right? Remember the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Jimmy Stewart up there and having to talk the whole time. But this stuff, bills used to be done like this. They would be debated on the floor, and the press would be up in the gallery, and you'd read the paper and you'd get about it. And in those days, the senators would go on sometimes for hours on their topic, and they spoke beautifully, like they wrote in those days beautifully. Then we went to this in these subcommittees and back rooms. They iron it all out. Then they come out and they tell us how it's going to be. I wish everything had to be debated in public like this. Maybe I'd watch C-SPAN a lot more, because you hear the arguments and you hear it going on. So maybe it is. But so the question, I guess, is out there that I'll ask today. Do we do away with the filibuster? Now, the argument is don't do away with it, because when the Democrats are in charge, they'll push all this. They'll make Puerto Rico a state, yada, yada, yada. But here's the other part of that. When the Democrats have the chance, they're going to get rid of it anyway. But if we got rid of it and we got the Save America Act in, what would elections look like? Think about that. Because my opinion, folks, I just believe that if elections had been and have been truly secured, truly just people who were A, alive, B, eligible to vote, and C, lived in that district where the vote was cast, I think elections would be different. I don't think we would have had the presidents that we've had. I don't think we'd have members of Congress that we have, even selectmen and dog catchers for that matter. I don't believe that our elections are secure. Prove me wrong on that one, because I can point over and over and over again. So if we get the Save America Act done, and all of a sudden everybody's registering to vote is in fact an American citizen, naturally born or naturalized, either way, it doesn't matter. And then the person who goes to cast a vote truly is the person standing in front of that. Usually in my case, it's a much older woman with their little red pencil in the list. And I think that will change elections. And I don't mean change them. I think it'll just change the outcome because we've had so many, and we can show you over and over again how many dead people have voted, folks. We can show you places where 48 people are registered to vote to the same address. And guess what? It's not even a house. We can show you this. We know this, right? The ballots. Ted?
I think it was 2020. More people
in
voted
Georgia.
in Pennsylvania than there are people
Registered
to vote.
And that has happened in many districts across the country. Many. And look, that's a whole nother show. Bottom line is our elections are not secure. The results that we've lived with aren't accurate because dead people voted, people who weren't allowed, people voted in multiple. You know the deal there. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to Ken waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. I'm going to put a pin in the save deck because that topic's going to go for quite a while. I wanted to pick up on what you talked about earlier. And if we have time, I could tell you some stories about Barcelona. But the Rand Paul, Mark Wayne Mullen conversation. Oh, that not goody. I think Rand Paul wins the when you're bigger than your britches award. I mean, come on, Rand. The story's 9 years old.
Yeah.
You're the chairman of the committee, and you have to go public on your grudge that you'll never give up. Because you have to be smarter than the other guy. He only has a high school degree.
No, don't get me wrong here, Ken, right? Absolutely. The fact that a neighbor walked into this man's yard and assaulted him to that point, absolutely. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's a horrible thing that he had to have some of his lung removed. He broke. I don't even know. Did that neighbor get prosecuted? Did he do jail time? I don't even know that part of it. Maybe someone can call in with that. So I'm not taking anything away from that. That was horrible because when that happened, remember, it wasn't that far away from Scalise getting shot at the ball game, right? And all that craziness going on. So let's not take anything away from a sitting U.S. senator being assaulted, and by his neighbor of all people. But for someone thinking that it's okay to walk up to a senator because you don't agree with their politics, or that you said something, and I think, I don't know, Mark might have made a good point. It might have had nothing to do with his political leanings. I don't know what triggered the man to do, but I don't want to take anything away from that. But yeah, to your point, okay, we all know that story, but you are the chairman of this Senate subcommittee right now. Act accordingly. I love that line from The Departed, right? When he says, act accordingly. Rand Paul, act accordingly. Because you're representing the Senate, you're the chairman. This is not your personal vendetta time.
The sum of the story, too, is when Republicans are in the minority, you love Rand Paul. But when they're in the majority, not so much. And did you get a load on the Donahue story?
Donnie, no. What's that?
So again, you were mentioning that Mullen and Donahue had a clash.
Oh, is it Donahue or O'Brien?
Maybe it's O'Brien.
Sean O'Brien, the Teamster guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got the wrong name. It's the Catholic Labor Union League.
Yeah.
Got that right.
The Teamsters.
Okay, there we go. So they had a let's take it outside conversation, and Mullen stood up.
Yeah, because he's like, go ahead, you stand up. All right. Mullen said, okay, and he stood up. You hear all the senators, oh no, and Bernie Sanders, I could hear his voice come through everyone. Whoa, no.
You got all that right from the story of a year or two ago. Guess who was at the hearing yesterday?
Oh, Mr. O'Brien?
Oh, he was right behind Mullen.
Oh, okay.
And Mullen and he are friends now.
Oh, didn't he make reference to that?
Yeah.
He goes, now we're friends. We talk all the time and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
And what a contrast between him and Rand Paul. I mean, two guys went at it just within the last year or two. They're buddies now. But Rand Paul has a 9-year-old grudge.
Yeah, that's more suitable for the housewives of D.C. or something, right, or Potomac, because guys, we have our flare-ups, we have our things, but when it's done, it's pretty much done, right? I'm just saying the Mars, Venus, women from Venus, men from Mars type of thing.
Yeah.
Guys have a beef, they do their thing, and then it's done. And we don't ever really go back to it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, women, I think, can on demand recall everything you ever said wrong or did wrong since they've known you, and maybe even before they knew you, because the mother filled her in. So she can pull everything up, right? Like a computer on anything you did wrong. I think that's just the difference between men and women. So maybe Rand Paul should be in the Housewives.
The women are
bottom
smarter.
line,
Smarter.
he is a doctor, and his head is bigger than the average doctor, which tends to be big in the first place of what they think of themselves. So it's sad. But I want to also comment about Barcelona.
Yeah.
I dare say I have made one trip to Europe, and there's a good chance that's the last one. Not that it was all that bad.
Right.
I stopped over in Portugal, and boy, did I see a lot of hammer and sickle. Yeah, Marxism definitely runs wild in Portugal.
Well, isn't that kind of the theme Vance has been saying, Trump has been saying, Rubio, that Europe, you guys, you dropped the ball, right? You've allowed your identity to be chipped away. This unfettered immigration is going to dilute, the culture, the idea, and we have that issue here. The idea of coming here is assimilation, not taking over and getting rid of our culture.
And you mentioned pickpocketing in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say I was a victim because I didn't lose my wallet, but I felt something going on in my wallet. And unfortunately, my wallet was thick and my pants were tight, and I didn't lose it.
No, that's a flex. But yeah, it's just, you got to be conscious of that stuff. There are different things you can do in different packs and everything, but it's a huge, huge industry. Ken, we're against the clock. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Folks, we have to take our third and final break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show in Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you can join the conversation for the time we do have left together at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Hey, folks, back in 2 and 10. Stick with us.
Are you concerned about the future of health freedom in Massachusetts? Join us for the People's Health and Freedom Forum, a powerful one-day event bringing together leading voices in health, education, and personal freedom. On Saturday, April 18th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Oxford, Massachusetts, you'll hear from experts including pediatrician Dr. Larry Pilevsky, analyst John Bodwin Sr., and other physicians, educators, and advocates working to restore integrity and choice in medical decision-making. You'll learn how to find healthcare practitioners aligned with your values, navigate mandates and exemptions, understand concerns surrounding COVID and mRNA policy, and explore alternative K-12 education options and EMF safety strategies. Your ticket includes a full day of speakers, lunch, and a happy hour to connect with others who care about health freedom. This event is hosted by Health Rights MA Advocacy and proudly sponsored by WCRN Radio. To stand with us as sponsors, email hello@healthrightsma.org. To get tickets, visit healthrightsma.org. Educate, organize, unite for freedom.
Girton Graphics and Awards has been the name in custom apparel, t-shirts, embroidery, trophies, and awards. Whether you need custom t-shirts for your business, sports teams uniforms, thousands of personalized promotional products, or trophies that truly shine, Girton Graphics and Awards has you covered. Operating right here in Worcester, Girton Graphics and Awards takes pride in their craftsmanship, unbeatable prices, and top-notch service. Their reputation, often imitated, never equaled. Stop by the showroom on Southbridge Street next to Coney Island Hot Dogs and see why Girton Graphics and Awards has been the trusted choice for over 50 years. Call 508-754-0200, 508-754-0200. Visit GirtonGraphics.com, GUERTIN graphics.com, or swing by today. Girton Graphics and Awards. We're still the one.
All right, folks, welcome back here. Fourth final segment, Thursday edition, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So real quick on this, the filibuster, the whole thing, do away with it. They're going to do away with it anyway, but if the Democrats do get in power and there is no filibuster, there's a lot of problems. But I still maintain my argument is, if we do get the Save America Act passed, it will change the purity of an election. And when you look at the combination of only true citizens can vote, you get to vote with an ID. Then you look at, there's a lot of Democratic money has been dried up with USAID, if you notice this, because as USAID stopped a lot of funding to these projects, these weird projects around the world, DNC coffers went. Why is the Republican coffers so much higher now? You start to say, is there a correlation here? Is there a connection there? Then we've got all of these, the billions of dollars, not just in Minnesota, but now, hey, Nick Shirley's in California. And there was that little exchange because Nick Shirley did the same thing. He's looking at the daycare centers and some other stuff. And Gavin Newsom, now I don't know if Gavin Newsom's doing his own social media or whatever 23-year-old intern is, but they came back with the weirdest, comeback to Nick Shirley with him, like a meme of him peeking into the door of a daycare center, asking if there were any kids around, implying he's some kind of pedophilia, right? This was the message he was trying to do. And you're the sitting governor. Who did that on your, whoever that is on your staff, get rid of him. That was just so wrong. Don't you think that maybe a better response other than nothing would have been to take that opportunity to say, really, because he showed up at a place that was supposed to be a daycare center, and I saw the clip of this, and there were two small children literally by themselves, no adult on the premise, which in itself, child services should have been called right there. And he was finding the same thing. Same thing he found in Minnesota, he's finding in California. Wouldn't it have been a good opportunity for the sitting governor to say, Nick, thank you for bringing that to my attention. That is something that deserves a follow-up. I am going to have my people look into that. That's unacceptable.
Joe, I think maybe he was just more interested in earning his new moniker, New Scum.
Yeah, I know he wants to run from it or make fun of it, but to your point, he's living up to this. So Mike Lee and others are doing now, right? They keep the pressure on with this talking filibuster type thing. And then comes the fear campaign, right? We were seeing that. Oh, no, what if ICE is at the polling places? Sometimes I got to think, do you not hear yourself? Really? DHS told election officials there were no plans to station ICE at polling places, absent some immediate public safety threat. Now, here's the thing. I'm director of ICE, and they're concerned about ICE being at polling places. I'm going to start thinking, well, why is that? Because, again, weren't we told elections were secure, they were fair, everybody voting had the right to vote? So the last place you should find an illegal immigrant would be at a polling place, no? Because illegals can't vote. That's what we're told. So how could they possibly be there? And you're very concerned that ICE, who is statutorily chartered, all right, tasked with locating and deporting illegals, I would say, well, maybe I should be there, because that is making me think you're concerned that they're going to be caught there. So right now, that whole line sounds a lot more like a scare tactic than any actually policy, but why are you concerned with that? And let's just say out loud what everyone already knows. As I said, if you're not an American citizen, you have no lawful business trying to vote in a federal election. So if you are an American citizen, the law is trying to protect your vote from being diluted or canceled by ineligible voting. And if you are a legit voter, you're a citizen, naturalized or not, the point is, don't you want your vote to count for what it's supposed to count? Do you want your vote negated by an illegal vote? Do you want it diluted? No. The controversy is manufactured because one side politically benefits from these muddy rules, loose enforcement, endless accusations of suppression. Anytime someone asked for the most basic proof imaginable, I still haven't had anybody explain to me in a very logical, common sense, matter of fact way how that's asking for voter ID when you go to vote, your ID, how that's suppression, how it's Jim Crow 2.0, Chuck Schumer likes to say. You're welcome, 508-871-7000. It's nothing. In every single interview I've ever seen where someone's gone out there, those citizens, journalists, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, and they go to, you know, the places, the parks in New York, and they explain this to people of color and say, this is what's going on. And they say, well, that's racist. Of course I have an idea. And they'll ask, do you have an idea? Yes. Do you know where the registry of motor vehicles is? Yeah, it's down on such and such. It's so, they don't even understand saying that asking for ID is racist because black people don't have IDs or know how to get them. That's about as racist as you can get.
So it actually gets worse.
Yeah.
They pivoted recently stating that divorced women will be taken out.
Right. Because their name changes. First of all, isn't that very presumptive that you think that their name's going to change? And don't forget, a lot of them use the hyphen. Oh, I like the hyphen. Yes. Remember, was it John Candy's? Yeah, sure. I get a lot of compliments on the hyphen. Yeah, of course. Sure you would. You would. So, but yeah, that's the other thing. First of all, again, a marriage license certificate solves that problem. Women who have taken, and some men have taken the woman's name, but when they take the name of your spouse, your marriage certificate takes care of that in a second. And
a birth certificate.
And look, I have seen situations where no one even produced it. They go, oh, well, your name, they'll say, oh, I got married. My name is now. And the person at the bank or whatever goes, oh, okay. Click, click, click. And they change the account.
Yeah. John Kennedy would say that dog don't hunt.
Exactly, man. John Kennedy. Awesome. So now tie all that into the other story, right? The Mark Wayne Mullen DHS nomination, the SAVE Act. Mullen got through the committee 8-7. Rand Paul voted no, as we talked about. Fetterman crossed over, voted yes. And that may have saved the nomination. And Fetterman, he's acting, I don't know, very common sense. Made a lot of sense since his recovery. And the Paul Mullen feud is real, personal, ugly. But the bigger point on this is the next Homeland Security Secretary is likely going to walk into that office right in the middle of this election integrity fight, the border fight, in this broader battle over whether the federal government will enforce citizenship rules like they matter. And I understand the executive order is already written up that the midterm and certainly the 2020 election will probably be, if not the securest, close to the most securest elections we've ever had. Again, because if you ever listen to me talk about this over the years I've been doing this, is I believe in paper ballots only. I don't believe any electronic voting devices at all. Paper ballot. And all the computer that we should have at a polling place is the counter for how many ballots were slid into the slot. That's it. So the number that goes in there matches the number of people who walked in, said, I am so-and-so in such and such a street, and they put the little line through your name. You get your ballot, you cast it, you slide it into the machine, the little clicker goes up by one, and I always look at it. I always want to know what number voted, how many people voted before me when I get to the polling place. And that's it. So that box says we have 738 ballots in it. 738 people checked in. We're good. That locked box should be taken by the officer on that detail right to the town or city clerk. We did that for a lot of years, folks, and we knew the results a few hours after the polls closed. There is no reason that a voting machine needs to be electronic. There's no reason that Dominion machine or whoever it is needs to be connected to the internet. Why does it need to be on the internet? You know, it doesn't need a software update. A paper ballot doesn't need it. So same-day elections, paper ballots, simple. So this question for our country, guys, is not complicated. Do you want an election system built on honor rules and wishful thinking? Or do you want an election system where citizenship is verified, identification is required, and the people voting in American elections are, wait for it, Americans? And that should be 80-20 country, right? Maybe 90-10. The fact that Washington can't handle that tells you just how broken Washington really is. So Rand Paul's opposition was personal, temperamental, as much as policy-based. He hammered Mullen over past comments condoning violence, including remarks about the 2017 assault by his neighbor, as we reviewed.
Mullins called him a snake, which is true.
But other Republicans have also called him. So it's not like Mullins was alone in that either. So, look, this revived the old criticism over Mullen challenging Teamsters boss Sean O'Brien, as we said, to the fight in the Senate hearing. And Mullen did not apologize. Essentially, instead, he asked Paul to let him prove himself on the job, which I thought was a pretty good comeback to that. And Fetterman, again, folks, was the decisive Democrat, right? He praised Mullen's record on border security, on immigration enforcement. His support proved crucial because every other Democrat on the committee voted no. It went right down party lines. But, folks, we're going to have to wrap up the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Remember, follow me at Joe Mangi Show and go to Joe Mangi or joemangishow.com. Follow my blog site there. And don't forget, this is turned into a podcast, and you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, you name it, it's there. Have a fantastic day. Hey, I'll be sitting in for Peter Blute Sunday at 9:30. We kick off the Peter Blute Show. Jerry Doherty will join me for the beginning of the show for a while. That's Sunday. Tomorrow, the Carr Brothers are in. Hey, guys, Joe out.